Hey YouTube, it's Will from Will Development. This is my 336th weekly update. You may notice that this one is going up super early as compared to many of my other updates in the past, and the reason is actually because I am working night shift tonight, being Friday, and tomorrow at work just to make up for some other people who are on vacation and things like that. Gotta make the money when I can, right? So I figured out, I was like, oh, I need to just do it now. One of the things actually with that is obviously my schedule's gotten thrown a little bit off. So I did not go to the gym today because last night, Thursday night, I decided to just stay up as late as possible. Basically, I made it to about 2 a.m. before it got to the point where even standing up I was dizzy, and I was like, okay, cool. The idea being I'll stay up super late and then I'll sleep in till whenever I can just to make my schedule that way. Ironically, I'll have to do the opposite on Saturday. I'll have to try to stay awake when I get home Sunday I should say. I'm gonna have to try to stay awake after I get home on Sunday during the day until I just can't stay up anymore. And hopefully my schedule resets a little bit. But because of that, my eating schedule got moved around a little bit, and things like that. I also went this morning to get some blood work done, and so I said, you know what, that'll actually work out really well. I'll stay up as late as I can, and then I'll wake up. The place opened at like 6:30, and I was like, okay, so I'll just wake up, 3 or 4 hours later, so I'll still be tired. When I get back from that, it's only like 10 minutes away. I'll be able to sleep in a little bit. I'll just sleep till whenever and at least get 4 to 6 hours. I'm under no impression that tonight will not be rough. But the reason any of that matters is because it threw off my training schedule just a little bit. Arguably, I could have just added some more stuff to certain days, but honestly, the way this week was already going, I was like, you know what, maybe a couple days off of the gym wouldn't kill me. And to get into that, basically Monday was just rough. Monday just was supposed to be squats, deadlifts, and honestly don't know exactly why, but it was just bad. Everything was bad. Squats hurt, 135 felt heavy, 225 felt impossible, which is weird, and it hurt, and I was like, alright, well, maybe it's just one of those days, let me try deadlifts instead, and I'll do some other squat variant just to make myself feel better, just to say, okay, at least I did the movement, bear squats or even counterbalance squats, just holding a plate out in front of me, that sort of thing. And I ended up doing a few counterbalance squats into sort of, might even call them like goblet squats. A few sets of that, a few sets of pull-ups, but it was nothing like worth it, really. And when I went to go deadlift, 135 felt heavy, 225 felt heavy. Everything felt heavy. My hands felt weak. Everything just felt just awful. So I just did a little bit of work around the 315 area, and I said, all right, let me do 315 deadlifts just because that's what I can pull today, and I'll superset it with bag tosses or something because that'll make me feel better. And so that's what I did, and I just did a bunch of singles at 315, and then went outside and did a bunch of bag tosses. No idea how much height. I think I was using the 30-pound bag, and that's what I did Monday because that's what I could do. So sometimes it's like that. Now, on the contrary, Tuesday pressing went much better, but it definitely was not as good as it could have been. I wanted just a little bit more weight than what I got, but even once I finished that session, I said, you know what, you need to relax, you need to just be proud and happy that this is where you're at, because it wasn't so long ago where this number was a lot lower. And the reason I say that is because I ended up, it was supposed to be a heavy day, and I did 2 sets of 2 with 205 out of the rack with the axle. And like I said, I need to just be happy about that because it wasn't so long ago where I couldn't do 180, regardless of style, for more than a single. So to be able to do 205 for 2, and the first set was kind of scary because the first rep of the first set just shot right up, and I was like, whoa, okay. And then the second rep was very much so a grinder. And then third and fourth rep being the second set. First rep did not go up easy, and then the second rep, I had to attempt a couple times to get my fourth rep for the day. But honestly, it was fine. I'm not complaining about it, and I just wanted more. I felt like I, maybe should have or could have done 210, that sort of thing. But honestly, it's a fine place to be. Obviously, I'm still getting stronger with it, and even today with less sleep and a really messed up schedule and everything, I still feel better than I did on Monday. Don't know how I might actually perform because of that feeling, but I feel better. So I'm just going to chalk everything up to something was obviously wrong with my body, and it might have just been a lack of rest. But I feel good now. So next week will more than likely be a much better week of training for me, which I'm okay with. And then Thursday, squatted again. Again, they felt heavy, and I was having a really hard time sort of performing the movement properly. I would notice my first rep, I wasn't really sitting back and breaking at the hips as much as I should. But then on the subsequent reps, everything was fine. And because of that, I'm definitely going to start adding in some additional work on my squat days of just doing singles, and maybe saying do 5 singles with 15 to 20% more than what you were just doing. Because usually working sets that I do aren't bad. They're not necessarily heavy. Usually like the first rep is okay, and then by rep 4 or 5, that's where it actually gets challenging. So if I just add 10, even 15% to that number, and just practice doing singles, because my first rep is obviously where I'm having a lot of trouble. And I need to be better at doing that first rep because it's going to hold me back. But because of that, having trouble with the first rep, and the trouble I'm talking about is just hurting because I'm not sitting back like I should be. I'm like just basically breaking straight down, and it's breaking at my back, which hurts. So I need to fix that. So I just did some work around the 225 area with like perfect form. 4 sets of 4s, so 16 total reps. And I guess 4 of those reps were not perfect because the first rep was always kind of wrong, would probably be the best word for it. But the fun part is supersetting with pull-ups. I've been really focused on pull-ups lately. Essentially every squat day I'm doing pull-ups, and then one of my other days during the week on my press days I'll do chin-ups. And it's got to the point where I've added weight to them, and I've usually just been doing the same protocol as the working sets for the main movement that day, just doing them right after or in between the sets. It doesn't really add that much recovery time. Pull-ups aren't, for me, they're not that draining, so it's a good way to just sort of sneak in that extra back work and get to the point where I'm doing 45 and 25, so that's what, 70 pounds? 45, 65, yeah, 70 extra pounds on my body on the fat bar for at least 5 reps, so that's really cool. I'm getting close to being able to do it with like 2 plates, which would be awesome. 90 extra pounds hanging off the body is nothing to sneer at in my opinion. And deadlifts went much better too. Was able to actually work up to 405, and when I did one, I said, you know what, you could actually do more weight. But instead of doing that, because you're obviously having something wrong this week, let's just do singles. So I did like 7 singles, which is the most times I've ever pulled that number. And I'm like, cool, let's just leave it there. Let's be smart about this. Next week's a new week. And then was supposed to do training today, but obviously because the schedule's so messed up, I'm probably going to just move it to tomorrow and try to go in on Saturday morning. We'll see how that works out, how I feel getting out of work. Usually when you leave work, you get a bit of a bolt of energy. So we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. But as of right now, this week was goofy, and then the end of the week is goofy because of obligations, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's just the way it is, and that's fine. So remember, just because you have a bad week, bad day, even a bad couple of weeks, and you've got things going on, obligations in life, it doesn't mean you need to stop. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Take the small victories and use those to keep moving forward. That's about it. Yeah, I have to go cook now. So if you don't appreciate your small victories, then what's your excuse?